they're going around the world engineering society through information, money, social engineering, younger cultures to think a certain way and destroy what we've got now.
Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the IE Media podcast. Thank you for tuning in wherever you're listening around the world, whether it's on one of the many audio podcast apps out there or one of the video platforms out there like YouTube, TikTok, Rumble and Odyssey now. Maybe you can go and check out the last show that we did with my good friend Adam, who is also back for part 4 today, and we've got loads to get into. Let's get straight into it.
You're listening to the IE Media Podcast.
Adam, welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
Yeah, good.
Good. It's unfortunate that our last episode was taken down by YouTube.
Yeah, I think we maybe said a few words that the algorithms picked up on, so that was just gone within a few hours, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It took down the next day when I woke up. I think I'd sent it to you in the night time once I'd edited it and uploaded it. And then in the morning, I had a message from you saying, "Where's it gone?"
Yeah.
I'm like, oopsie.
Yeah, so I think we re-edited it and put a short clip up, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then we moved it to another platform, which it was fine on, showed on. But it seemed to be, once we'd been flagged, that people struggled to find the video.
Yeah,
so
they did.
Was shadow banned or whatever they want to call that.
Yeah, and I've noticed from my analytics as well, since that video was took down, it's just dropped right off.
Yeah.
Like all the growth, subscribers, everything.
So they are steering people away from, even though they would subscribe to the channel, stuff like that, they ain't showing people that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so we have to tread very lightly on this episode. But folks, all the other platforms didn't have a problem with that. And if you go to my link tree, you may just find where to view them.
Yeah.
Let's get into it then. Today, we've got loads to look at. And first of all, we're going to be looking at this new central bank digital currency.
Yep.
And I've got an article here that's from the Bank of England's own website. And they title this as "Looking at the Case for a Digital Pound." It says that the digital pound would be a new type of money issued by the Bank of England for everyone to use for day-to-day spending. You would be able to use it in store or online to make payments. This type of money is known as a central bank digital currency, CBDC. You may also hear it being called digital sterling or even Bitcoin. We call the UK version of CBDC the digital pound. The digital pound would be denominated in sterling and its value would be stable just like banknotes. £10 in digital pounds would always have the same value as a £10 banknote. Oh, that's nice to know. It says, if we introduced it, it would not replace cash. We know that being able to use cash is important for many people. That's why we will continue to issue it for as long as people want to keep using it.
And that's the key in that sentence there. We will issue it as long as people want to keep it. So what they're going to do is make people not want to use it.
Problem, reaction,
which you
solution.
can see already, yeah. So, through COVID, they've convinced people not to use it because it could carry
Yeah, remember the fear of that? Like, don't pass me your money.
Let's admit, since then, cash has been getting less and less and less. I know at work we receive less and less and less cash.
Yeah.
It's being steered down that road.
All by design as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked on previous episodes about all these self-service checkouts and stuff and how that's pushing it. And now you're finding most of them are card only now. And you think, well, first of all, you wanted me to till it up myself and pay for it. And now you're saying I can't put cash in the machine. Or there might be one machine that takes cash, but then you just start stressing in a hurry that you end up, okay, I'll use it that way. And they know what they're doing.
Yeah, so it's like the Bank of England are always going to issue cash, but you're never going to be able to use it anywhere. So, you've got the big corporations that are in on the game, know the score, your McDonald's, KFCs, big places where people always go. And like youngsters today, they don't carry any cash. Mm-hmm. So it's just going to become the norm over generation after generation to the point where there is no cash in society. And once that's gone, that's any freedom gone. So they can control what you can and can't spend your money on.
Yeah.
So people don't understand that. I mean, they don't realise how much control that gives them over your life when cash is gone.
Yeah.
But once it's gone, it ain't never coming back.
Yeah.
Never coming back.
Yeah, I believe that. And I've got an article here, and it's talking about cashless society. And it talks about the pros and cons of a cashless society. I want to try and look at it with you and the audience here and get their take on it in the comments. And let's look at the pros, because I think we're going to be talking about the cons quite a bit. So pro number one, it reduces the risk of violent crime. So, I mean, who wouldn't want that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you were selling it to a public.
But is that the cause of violent crime?
Mm-hmm.
Cash? I don't think it really is it?
No.
It's
Absolutely.
everything that cash buys is probably the cause of violent crime. Like people want to steal something that's worth money.
Pro number two, it reduces tax evasion.
I ain't got a problem with that, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. So pro number three, it's harder for criminals who rely on cash payments.
You've got all these banks that have been fined billions for funneling drug dealers' money. They're the main cause of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's bullshit.
Yeah. Pro number five, better hygiene.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that really
Yeah. And this is from the economicshelp.org website as well. This is a proper thing. So pro number six, reduces worthless spare change.
Spare change has only become worthless because of the inflation that they've created. You know, I remember back in the day, I could go to the shop and get a 10p sweet bag.
Yeah, Freddo bar.
Yeah, exactly. But now it don't buy anything. That's why it's worthless, because they've created the inflation to devalue the money. Mm-hmm. So that's bullshit.
We can agree on that one then. And then pro number seven, cash imposes costs on banks and firms.
How does it? Oh, because they've got to transfer it from place to place.
Yeah.
I think that's more to the point that they haven't got the cash to equal the amount of the money but the bank holds.
Yeah.
So, you know, they've probably only got 3% of the cash that the bank actually says it's got.
Yeah. And then a cashless society, this is the realities of it. The banks would have full control of every single penny you own.
Yeah.
Every transaction you make is recorded.
Yeah.
All of your movements and actions are traceable. Access to your money can be blocked at the click of a button. You'll have no choice but to declare and be taxed on every penny in your possession. The government will decide what you can and cannot purchase. If your transactions are deemed in any way questionable by those who create the questions, your money will be frozen for your own good.
Yeah, see, like that last point, I mean, we're seeing a lot of these people that are speaking out, researchers that rely on donations from the public, their PayPal accounts are being frozen because these corporations don't agree with the message they're putting out or being exposed.
Yeah.
So they're getting the governments to freeze the accounts. So all you're ever going to get is the government narrative. There's never going to be any other narrative accepted. So,
I agree.
You know, it is total control and shut down anything that they don't want.
And there's a new thing now that they're doing is debanking people. And I was reading about this earlier when I was looking at articles. And they're saying that some smaller businesses who are putting a lot of cash into the banks are actually being debanked and having their accounts shut down. I
think you'll do away with the income tax and it will be a transaction tax. So you'll be taxed on every single thing you buy. So there'll be no more of this, I'm going to sell my car privately, getting the money. That money will be transferred to your bank. And say you've sold your car for a couple of £1,000, you'll be taxed on that.
Yeah.
And there'll probably be a heavier tax for selling something privately or, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. And this is being implemented into things like Facebook Marketplace as well, because when you're selling, you know, your own possessions and stuff, you've got something new, you want to sell the old thing. It's calculating now in the marketplace, like your earnings over a certain time.
Well, eBay's been doing that for a long time. So you can only sell so many things before you have to set up a shop and then you get taxed on it, I think.
Yeah.
So road tax, that's going to be done away with. You'll be taxed per mile, which ties into all the new cameras that are and the zoning system.
Wow, yeah. We can
and the AI that's in with that.
Quite a few new cameras in my area, these AI ones. I think they call them the vultures or something. And they allegedly can get you both sides. They've photographed the driver. They can see you with no seatbelt, allegedly. Don't know if it's fear-mongering. They can tell if you're on the phone.
Yeah.
And, of course, it is linked into this whole clean air zone thing as well, which is on a deeper level linked into the 15-minute cities and the districts. Something you talked about on a previous episode.
So then we end up with a society of Hunger Games. A lot of the population will be concentrated into cities where all the work is. The countryside where you see now, further up north I drive, the more like you're going through the small towns, the more shut down shops there are, boarded up windows. And slowly and surely over the years, tens of decades, it will be congregated into smaller districts where, like you were saying, you can only spend 15 minutes outside them zones.
Yeah.
And you get an allowance for, so I suppose it'll be like a carbon allowance or something you spend, tie into your money that you need to, like your government wage that you'll be getting. And it's just going to end up looking like a society like from Hunger Games. I mean, they're building, we said about it before, the high rail system all the way up to north to south to the capital. And it's the same in Hunger Games. You've got one high-speed rail system linking them all. So who knows where it's going to go with that. But AI is definitely going to be deeply involved with controlling people through facial recognition, number plate systems.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to tell how far you're travelling, so they'll send you a bill for the tax at the end of each month. So that's how it's going to be.
And it's all linked in as well, isn't it? Because you've got like the massive push for electric vehicles, which is tied into the clean air zones and the U.S cameras and stuff, and how it's eventually going to force people over to electric in loads of ways to do with emissions and fossil fuels and all the agendas going on there. And we wanted to sort of get into that as well, didn't we? And
the electric cars. I mean, I mean, we're more and more seeing people posting those articles and videos, like compilation videos of these electric cars just bursting into flames. Like, seeing, I think it was last month, that ship delivering all them electric cars, big cargo ship.
Yeah.
The whole ship was alight. I think a few people died on the ship, but they're just not safe. People being electrocuted by them, they're just bursting into flames, accelerating on their own. Autopilot, people in the Teslas engaged in the autopilot. It's killed 38 people now, so far as we know, according to statistics. But so I don't think electric cars are anywhere near there yet, but they are pushing and pushing and pushing.
Yeah.
So,
and you got to question the hypocrisy of it as well, because we're told that electric cars are better for the environment and it's the way to go in emissions and stuff.
We still need to burn coal and oil to charge them.
Yeah.
And then the cost, I mean, they only last, I think batteries last about 8 years in the electric cars, the lithium batteries. But then disposing of them is an astronomical cost because it's just toxic waste.
Yeah.
Very, very harmful for the environment. So I don't think there is any economical benefit to them whatsoever. I just think it's another way of control. So they can monitor how much energy you're using, because all this thing seems to be on monitoring your energy use. Yeah. An electric car, it's a lot easier to break down in a digital form that is using petrol because of how much you're accelerating, what engine it is.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of the car insurance companies are pushing that as well, because you go and try and get a quote now. Most of them say black box. And they won't let you.
Yeah, and all that black box system is data mining for the future AI systems that are going to drive your car for you.
Absolutely.
So
that's what it is.
That's what the incentive is. They're never, ever doing anything to benefit you. It is always to benefit them, because all they're doing is selling your data.
And we look at things in Hollywood over the years like Demolition Man and how a lot of talking points in that have sort of come to fruition.
Well, if you watch Demolition Man now, you'd be thinking, well, it's starting to resemble society today. Back then, it was so far-fetched, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But now it's pretty much reality.
Yeah, and in that, they weren't allowed to drive with it.
No.
It was driverless cars, electric vehicles. And you can just sort of see the future, can't you, sometimes through these movies and stuff. But I think a big hypocrisy to point out is how they're saying that they're good for the environment. I mean, I've got an article here from the Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue Service from their own website, and it's talking about electric vehicle fires. And it was saying that the electric vehicle fires actually generate over 100 chemicals, and some of them are incredibly toxic gases such as carbon monoxide and hydrocyanide, and it's very fatal to humans. And I mean, you shared a video on your Facebook showing these electric car fires.
And literally they are sat there and all of a sudden they just burst into flames and explode within seconds. I mean, I don't know for exactly how many people have died for it, but I can imagine it's quite a few. But they're not going to report on that because that's not the agenda they want to push. They want you in them cars. They don't want to steer you away. Yeah. But it's, I've had an argument put towards me saying that, well, how many people die in petrol cars? They don't just burst into flames on their own.
Of course not. No.
It doesn't happen. I mean, and he said, oh, what about filling up at petrol stations? That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Maybe rarely. Once every couple of years, there might be an incident where something catches fire at a petrol station and ignites the fuel. The petrol station goes up. But it's not caused by randomly sat their car all of a sudden exploding. Yeah. And when they explode, they're like bombs going off.
Yeah, even these e-scooters, I've seen footage of that, of somebody had one in the kitchen just on charge and it just randomly bursts into flames and the guy's trying to put it out and it just wrecks the whole house. Yeah. And it's just, the flames that are generated and the energy from them alone.
It's like a flamethrower pouring out of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to ask yourself, really, are they safe, and are they better for the environment? And then, like you were saying previously, that the energy that's required to generate the electricity, when you weigh it all up and the disposal of the batteries and everything, for all the different aspects of it, we're being led down the river here.
100% we are. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're going to keep... There's no way we're going to be able to stop it, I don't think.
No.
But I think a lot more people are waking up now to the fact that electric cars aren't the answer. Because I remember just after with my work in the workshop, body shop, repairing cars, there was all of a sudden this massive increase in electric cars we were repairing. And then all of a sudden, over the last 12 months, obviously with the electric increase and stuff like that, it has literally dropped off a cliff. It's like, you see all these adverts now on the radio and on the TV, the deals you can get on electric cars. It's because they can't get rid of them. They're just sat there on forecourts. You can't even give them away nearly.
Wow.
So like Fiat are offering £3,000 off a new car if you buy the electric one.
Right.
But people are not buying them. They're not moving. So
the infrastructure's not even there either, is it? No. Because I don't know if you've seen the videos of Tesla charging stations on a busy day. And there's just queues for miles and miles, and they've got to wait till that's charged.
It's like 20 minutes. I think it's like super to fast charge is 20 minutes.
Is it?
But I guarantee you that's probably where half the fires are caused.
Mm. It doesn't take 20 minutes to stand and fill your car with fuel, does it?
No.
Oh, it's crazy. And of course, that's probably another major reason for this massive increase in gas prices and fuel prices is
100%.
A closer push, isn't it, towards that?
Yeah, they're just wanting, like I've said, I didn't say it in the first episode, I got that slightly wrong. So I readjusted my train of thought, what I think would happen, but I can see it's happening now. Like I said, they are literally going to drain your wealth through increasing prices, whether it be oil and gas, because that increases all the prices, and inflation.
Mm.
And then if you're a house owner, a mortgage owner, then you're just going to be drained of wealth through inflation, through interest rates, which, ties back to, we were talking about the cryptocurrencies and the banks destroying the money, basically.
Yeah.
And so I've got this article here about the mortgages. This is from the Bank of England's own report that 1 million homeowners are going to be paying £500 extra a month just in interest over the next couple of years.
Wow.
With everything else going up as well, you're probably looking at an increase of, well, if we carry on from what's happened over the last 2 years, where it's like prices have pretty much doubled now, haven't they, on a lot of things, you're probably going to end up spending another £1,000 a month with the increase of the cost of living of the gas, electric, food prices, plus another £500 in interest on your mortgage. They're literally just draining the wealth because the guaranteed wages ain't going to go up like that.
Mm.
So
there's no way that they don't forecast this and know how things are going to pan out.
They've orchestrated this.
Yeah.
They've orchestrated this ever since they convinced us to bail out the banks We've been printing money, billions and billions of pounds every year to keep these insolvent banks alive, which should have crashed in 2008. And now all that money is filtering down, especially after into society.
Yeah.
And that's what's increased in inflation. Now, the only way you can combat inflation is by raising interest rates to slow the amount of money, or slow the money velocity and the increase in borrowing. So they've created the problem, and now they're creating the problem of the interest rates on the mortgage. It's all by design. Years and years ago, this was planned out, and for the next 10 years, they're going to drain the wealth out of everybody in the country. I mean, in this article I've got here, they talk about they don't want to see the days of the 1990s. So you're looking at what happened in the 1990s and the recession there, and the banks were repossessing 4,000 homes a month.
Wow.
So, and I guarantee it's going to be a lot worse than that.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to play it down. It is going to be worse than that. And I think it will lead to the point where the digital currency, the cashless society. So obviously inflation's going to destroy the wealth of this country. And they're going to say the answer is a stable digital currency that can't change in value.
Yeah, of course.
So that's, you know, they're offering you that as the, what's it called? Predictive programming.
Yeah.
Where they're offering you a solution before the problem's actually got to that point. So, but they've created the problem.
Problem, reaction, solution.
That's it. The Galilean dialectic.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that clip that I seen a few weeks back, it was showing how this all ties into the WEF slogan, World Economic Forum, when they were talking about you'll own nothing and be happy by 2030.
And the reason you'll own nothing is because they'll be drained all the wealth out of you that you can't afford anything.
Yeah. And this is what it was showing. It was showing that as we get into the future, I mean, like a lot of my generation now, we're never going to get on the property ladder.
No.
You know, we've missed the boat. You see the older generations, my home cost 20,000 and then now it's worth 250,000 and, you know, all that stuff. And you look at the price of average homes now. And then you look at the cost of everything and people's wages, and you can see that as this keeps on the same path that it's going on and house prices keep going up and up and up and the wealth gets stripped, and it's going to get to the point where most people are going to have to be in government housing. Yeah, and that's what it was showing.
You can see that happening more and more now. I mean, for every house that's built, they have to build so many housing association houses.
And there isn't enough for everyone.
No.
And so it's just shown that eventually it's just going to be they're going to have to start building like these big high-rise complexes again to put people in if things get so bad, because the housing market's just going to be, for most people, unreachable.
I mean, my boss is trying to sell it. He says he's sold his house at the minute, but then he's waiting on the next person to sell their house, and then they're waiting on the next person to sell their house. I mean, everyone's got their house on the market, but nothing's moving.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's about dead, the housing market. It is going to, I think probably September this year, people are actually going to finally realise that we're in a proper bad position now. I mean, I predicted it last year on the show that it would start last September. And it did. You see the first signs of it when the pension schemes went bankrupt. And the Bank of England had to bail them out.
You called that one.
Yeah. And then so slowly over this year, everything's gradually slowing down, but not slowing down enough to the point where people are actually waking up and thinking, shit.
Yeah.
But so, and I think that's probably how it's going to go, but I think a lot of people will start to realise, especially people who are interested in the housing market, are going to realise, shit, I've got this £350,000 house, and I've got a 90% mortgage on it, and I can't shift it. And now it's going to start getting worth less and less and less and less, to the point where you're in so much negative equity, the bank are going to take it and they're going to want more. So,
yeah, by design again.
Yeah. Which is going to, if they say what they're going to do, where they say you're going to own nothing and be happy, the situation has to get pretty fucking dire for people to accept that.
Yeah, of course.
And if the whole country is in so much debt that they can't afford to live, and there's people on the streets, that's looking like that's where it's going to go eventually. And that's the only way I think they can get that through. So.
Yeah. And it seems like they do need to crash everything. They need to pull the plug for a lot of this to be accepted, which seems far-fetched, to a lot of people. And, they'd never get away with that. People wouldn't stand for it. But like we've talked about before, the boiling frog, the drip effect, stuff like that.
I mean, you get to the point where people actually finally realise, and all of a sudden you get the response that, well, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Because they've made it a norm. They've drip-fed it into society slowly, predictive programming to the point where people just accept it.
Yeah. This big distraction going on right now in the media is talking about aliens, and this whistleblower in the congressional hearing talking about the US concealing aliens, and they've known it for multiple decades, and they've got all this evidence and blah, 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 blah. And it's just created a bit of a storm, really.
When I first started to wake up, I was already looking at like alien stuff. And I was like convinced that they were hiding aliens. But the more I've got into how these government organisations work with distracting people and trying to convince people of a certain thing is real in order to convince them of something else in the long term.
Yeah.
No, I ain't buying it. They ain't real. Definitely not. I mean, more I got into the flat earth thing, is more you understand that, the whole alien thing is there basically to convince you that the universe is real.
Right, okay.
And the whole reason for them going to the moon was to actually convince you, not that they actually landed on the moon, it's just to convince you that you live on a round ball.
Yeah.
So...
I know as well for the followers and stuff there that we do have different sort of opinions on that, but we don't fall out over it, know. And, my understanding would be that looking at the vast universe and everything that's out there and how there's so much stuff that we can't see, I think that it would be ignorant to think that nothing else exists outside of this flat plane / ball, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, if I thought that the universe was real, then I would think it was ignorant to think that we're the only things here.
Yeah.
But there's no way in my head now, knowing what I know, that I think that's even possible that we live on a ball in a universe. No way. Now, I'm not saying that UFOs ain't real, because I believe UFOs are real. But I'm saying they're not aliens, little green men. Mm-hmm. And they're either from more advanced civilizations elsewhere on this plane that we don't know about, or they actually just are technology that we're not told about. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I just don't like the idea of little green men. I don't think that's even possible. So,
I think that's just how they sell it to you, isn't it, through the entertainment industry over the
100%,
decades. And you see that the big scary threat is always the aliens coming to attack Earth.
Which
humanity's got to get together for this one world thing, for this outside threat. We got to work together.
Which Werner von Braun's secretary warned us all about years ago, about the agendas that were coming, and then the final threat would be the alien threat, that they would convince us all to join a new world order through the fear of being destroyed by an alien threat.
Yeah.
So we see all that coming to light now. So, to me, this is all just another part of the agenda.
Yeah.
Just taking us along step by step to reach the final goal. So.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you remember Project Bluebeam.
Oh, well, they can project things in the sky that look real.
Yeah.
And you can see the early parts of that Project Bluebeam being experimented on, like Japan, where they have these basically 3D animations up on stage where you can't even, it's a cartoon, but you think it was really there.
Yeah.
So.
And then I think there's a famous quote by some political elite, billionaire out there, and it was talking about how an outside threat to the world would bring everyone together, and it would advance this whole.
That was Ronald Reagan, man. Did he stand up in the UN and say that?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember.
I think he said something like, "I can't See, I can imagine how quick all our differences would disappear if we was threatened by an outside, entity, basically.
Yeah.
And that is it. It's just setting the pathway for how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, I mean, basically, you look at the Project Bluebeam stuff and the projector holographic technology and stuff and how advanced that is now.
Yeah.
They could put a big mothership up in the sky.
Easy.
Threatening to laser beam you all and, people be freaked out. I mean, they could do that. That's not to say that from my perspective, Adam has a different viewpoint, but from my perspective, I think that it's infinite possibilities and who knows what's out there. But on that same flip side, if there is anything, they know rightly, this isn't, anything new.
No.
So why now?
Yeah, exactly.
Distraction.
Yeah, I mean, and also, you remember, people were scared during something they couldn't see. You imagine how scared they're going to be of something they can see.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't think people will fall for the same thing again, something they can't see. So that is the next thing, is just something they can see. So,
I mean, they could literally tell us that we've been contacted by another galaxy and...
They can tell us whatever they want, and we can't prove otherwise.
Yeah.
Yet they can't prove, really, they have. So you just have to take their word for it. And basically, all they become is the modern-day priests of society. So...
Yeah. So... if there is any aliens out there watching and listening to this broadcast, please get in touch at elusive.media@hotmail.com. Or you can just land in the garden and we'll get you on a show. Yeah. Sort it out. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, they'll use anything to sway public perception, won't they?
That's all the TV and news is there for, is to steer you down a path of the agenda they want.
Yeah.
That's it. So...
And we talk about distractions and agendas and stuff. And what we were talking about before we got into this recent alien distraction was the oil thing and the electrics and stuff.
Yeah.
And you said that you don't see it stopping. It can't be stopped. And then that's led me to just stop oil.
Yeah.
And the hypocrisy of all that stuff. I mean, I don't know if you have seen some of the footage of them blocking the roads.
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen
what do you think?
Well, these people, I mean, half of them don't work. They're youngsters that have got malleable minds, shall we say. So they've been convinced of something they actually really know nothing about. I mean, if you can go on the Wayback Machine on the internet and just search through last 20 years of things of global warming, I mean, we should be underwater now. According to the old articles of global warming.
Yeah.
And nothing's happened. Sea levels haven't risen.
Yeah.
There's no way of them actually measuring that from space. That's impossible.
We're supposed to be underwater by now, aren't we?
Yeah. And all I see is basically people that are lost, youngsters that are lost, don't know what they want from life, feel like they're clinging onto a cause that they actually believe in, but none of them know the history of this. Like, I'm sure they don't know anything about the Club of Rome document saying that, we need to convince humanity that they're the threat to the world, destroying the threat in order to control them. I'm sure they don't know anything about that. But, and the more you look into these groups, they're just funded by the same people who funded the Arab Spring, the Ukrainian uprising in 2014, funding all these Arab groups. They're actually shooting our soldiers abroad, giving them the weapons to do it.
That's a massive hypocrisy, isn't it? But that is fact.
Yeah. So, and then we start looking into, so these also, you got Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil that are the main ones in the UK that we hear about all the time.
Yeah.
And you look into who funds them. Well, they're actually organised by the same organisers. They actually list on the website the same organisers. So basically the same group. And then you look into where they get their funding from, and it comes from basically a black hub where it was set up by a guy called George Soros.
Yeah.
The same billionaire that funded all these destabilisations of countries abroad.
Yeah.
In order to change political view and political leadership. basically just destroying infrastructure in that country. And he's created this black hub where billionaires around the world, the people that you've never heard of, who basically run the world behind the scenes, tell these politicians and banks what to do, could donate all their money anonymously. So, and I found an article. I mean, we looked this morning, didn't we? I mean, we were only looking for 15, 20 minutes. And you can find article after article after article of all these reports that George Soros is funding these groups.
Yeah.
And protesters are literally being paid to go out there and cause trouble on purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can find it all.
And it's done by proxy, isn't it? Because they do it through this, I'm reading this article we found this morning from the Mail Online. And this one in particular was talking about George Soros ploughing $3 million into the BLM activist group around the time of the George Floyd thing.
And I remember that story. And, you know, the more people done research on it, the more they found out that, well, actually, these protesters aren't from this area that's, you know, being destroyed. And it turns out that he was getting buses full of people, paying them to go into other parts, other cities and burn it down.
Yeah.
And he's paying these protesters, same in London, these protesters are being paid to go there and protest, destroy things.
Did you know about the bricks?
I see it, where they were literally hiding bricks around the back of buildings and telling the protesters, right, we've put bricks behind the back of buildings, go and chuck them at the police. Yeah,
because there was genuine activists, you know, who were reporting on the streets of this sort of stuff. And one in particular who used to be on the network that I used to be on, Kristen Harris, he was, you know, remember the Rittenhouse, Kyle Rittenhouse incident and what was going on there on that time? He was actually there on the ground that day. Some of his footage was actually used in the court case, and he was in the involved in the trial and stuff. And he shown footage of how there was like a big crate of bricks, fresh, brand new bricks, just dropped off by an unknown vehicle, just left there perfectly as they come around the corner. Oh, there's loads of bricks for us, you know. And it's just like, open your eyes. I mean, this is in 2020.
Yeah.
So, Q Bono, who benefits from the distraction, especially around what was going on then? Yeah. You know, you have to ask yourself.
And I remember also that thing that there was legitimate people in the crowd filming the protests, spotted police dressed as protesters attacking the police. So, what's that? Agent provocateur.
Yeah.
So you start, you put your own people in the crowd to start the trouble. And once one starts, more will follow.
Yeah.
Because the tensions get high. And then that gives you, the police, legitimacy to attack the protesters. Yeah. And then you get this I suppose it's like a snowballing effect of now all of a sudden the news is showing police attacking black protesters.
Yeah.
So it just builds and builds and builds, and it's just all funded by this same guy who just goes round with these different organisations destabilising countries through paid protesters.
Yeah.
So none of it's legit. These people are lost people who think they've found some sort of meaning, and they've attached themselves to it, and they feel part of something, and they love it.
Well, they do a number on them, don't they? I mean, they most people are sincere and they genuinely believe in what they're fighting for.
Yeah.
And it's only because of what they've been programmed with.
Yeah, I mean, they've been brainwashed through school and probably I suppose these NGOs start up little groups at universities for people to go and read and give their propaganda and bullshit to, but they don't tell you any of the history of what they've got wrong.
And we were looking earlier about like the Just Stop Oil people and how they're actually funded by an American organisation called Climate
Emergency Fund.
Climate Emergency Fund. And we were reading their manifesto on their website, and it says that they've started over 27 different activist organisations in the last 2 years, and they've mobilised over 130,000 people onto the streets for various activist things. You know, but it's all under the guise of climate, but it's not all to do with climate.
No.
And when you look at it, it's about swaying.
And they're being told specifically to go out and cause trouble.
Yeah.
So
just swaying public perception.
And then as you follow it up, further up, who funds who? Who's in control of that organisation? Who funds that? And then you just get to the same people every time.
Yeah, once you start looking at who.
Yeah. And all these people have got a connection to a certain group. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not going to take you long if you want to look at it. It's the same people who control the banks. It's the same people who control all the media. And it's the same people who are pulling at the strings of all these protesters. So they're going around the world engineering society through information, money, and then social engineering younger cultures to think a certain way and destroy what we've got now.
And one good example of that with the Just Stop Oil thing and the whole climate agenda is I've been seeing these weather pictures from previous years where the temperatures have been far hotter than they have been over the last month or
two.
And
it may be like a dark orange.
Yeah.
And now it's like red.
It used to be green just with the numbers on, and now it's red, orange, deep red, and it's like almost like fire, burning, hot, danger.
Yeah, that's another thing I think we talked about the other day about how they put it through on the news, like these forest fires. They make if you're just listening to it, they make it sound like it's the heat of the sun that's starting these fires. Now, you can hold a cigarette out in the sun all day long. It wouldn't matter if it got to 60 degrees. It wouldn't catch fire. No way. So none of these are started naturally. I mean, naturally is a sense of it's just the sun starting it. The majority of them are probably started by litter that's left there, like a glass bottle that's magnified the sun at a certain point, caught fire. You know what I mean? Or people having barbecues or kids causing trouble or whatever. But there is no way the sun is naturally just spontaneously combusting grass. No way.
Yeah.
No way. It can't happen. So, and I remember last month they were on about how, Italy is facing the temperatures in Italy have never been seen before. So I was like, surely it was 47 degrees, I think it was they were talking about. So I went through, just Googled Italy's hottest temperatures. And you can go all the way back to 1800.
Yeah.
And every 10, 15 years, 46, 47, 48, it's no different. It's just no different. But because there's quite a big gap between them, generationally, they won't remember it.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and here, I mean, what was it last year? Did we have 38 degrees or something? 39 degrees. There was this big hoo-ha 2 days. It's like, it's the summer, it gets hot. I remember racing karts when I was a kid. And I remember one summer it being 37 degrees when I was racing.
Yeah.
That's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So it ain't no different now. I mean, we haven't had a good summer this year anyway, have we? So
it's been dreadful up here, up north anyway.
Yeah.
It's rained for the last few weeks.
And last week, there was a NASA report came out saying that if you're alive now, this is the coldest summer you're going to experience for the rest of your life.
Right.
I mean, if that ain't fear-mongering, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
And how can they predict that?
Yeah.
But they never talk about the solar minimums, solar maximums every 10, 12 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, they don't bring that into it. The sun's not got anything to do with it. It's you pesky humans and your carbon footprints. Yeah. Come on. I mean, anyone who's really studied the planet or the plane T, as you call it.
Plane T,
would know that this whole climate change thing is a bit of a hogwash because the climate's always changing. We've had extreme heat. We've had ice ages.
Allegedly, we've had ice ages. We've had times of extreme heat, like you say. It's cycles.
Shifts about. I mean, you go and look at all the continents of the planet on a big world map thing, and you can sort of see how chunks of that land used to be connected to this land. And things shift, things move, times change.
And I'll tell you what, humans never moved then. So... I don't believe that. All right, I am aware that maybe we cause a lot of pollution.
Yeah, of course.
But
is it really as bad?
There is no way that us using cars is changing the temperature. No way. Not in my eyes. So
yeah. And through all this carbon footprint thing, they've been able to gain so much control, haven't they, in terms of how much energy people use.
On another point, I just remembered this thing that. When I was younger, when they were talking to us about it, when we were just leaving school was when it was just probably getting its bit of traction. I remember them always showing us power stations with all the smoke coming out the giant chimneys.
Right.
But that ain't smoke. That's steam.
Yeah.
That is just steam from the boiling water.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? That is sort of level of deception they're at. So,
yeah. My son came home from primary school many years ago and he was freaked out. He was really upset. They taught him about climate change and things hotting up and, and it just traumatizing him from a young age, and all these sorts of world agendas and ideals that these billionaires want seem to be trickling down through the education system. Yeah. Why is that? And there's no conspiracy.
Because they're just literally re-educating the next generation. The next generation will be even more brainwashed than the next one. So literally over time, as they grow up, it's just like naturally everybody knows and believes that.
Yeah. It becomes common knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
It?
But once the lie's told, if the lie's big enough and told often enough, it becomes the reality. So, But as I think Joseph Goebbels said in his book, he said, if you convince the children, so will follow the parents. So that's how propaganda works.
Yeah. And of course, that ties me into the whole AI thing as well.
Yeah.
Because we also have, we've got lots to get into about the AI stuff, but you've got AI now taking over roles such as writing news reports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember 10 years ago, people talking about the comments section on YouTube, where a lot of the comments were being written by AI.
Bots and stuff.
Yeah. Just to deter people away from watching the video.
Yeah, someone exposed that, especially when it comes to like political agendas.
Yeah.
And they shown how all these tens of thousands of Twitter accounts were all saying exactly the same words, spelt exactly the same way, all fake looking profiles. And yeah, it's just.
But you only have to have a few of them to influence how people maybe perceive a comment or perceive a video to make them think of something else.
Yeah. So we've been talking about all these NGOs and stuff.
Yeah.
And how a lot of these groups are actually swayed in certain ways to further certain goals.
Yeah.
And you pulled up an excellent report here, which I'm going to read out. And this is from the Executive Intelligence Review. And it's talking about Extinction Rebellion climate violence funded by the world's richest people. Ties into the intro about the people that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Or have you? And it goes on to say, one of the co-founders of the Extinction Rebellion organisation we profile here, Redja Hallam, made a video in August 2019 for its website in which he advised the climate demonstrators why, in this climate emergency, they must accept money from rich people who are capitalists. These wealthy people are beset with climate anxiety, he told his supporters. We're dealing with people who cry at night just as we do. We don't want them to commit suicide. No, we want them to ring us up and give us that £1 million quid.
Really?
Yeah.
So these billionaires are really worried about the climate?
Allegedly.
Yeah. Okay.
The same billionaires who aim to make large profits with so-called green finance schemes for high-tax, high-cost renewable energy technologies are financing XR, according to Extinction Rebellion documents acquired by Breitbart News, the mega speculator and financer of so many no-good organisations, NGOs it says. George Soros topped XR's list of eco-anxious donors, although the amount he gave was blacked out in the relevant document. Other European funds have come from the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, which gave no less than £121,000. This is the foundation of notorious mercenary London-based hedge fund, the Children's Investment Fund Management. Funded and run by Sir Chris Hon, the CEO of this foundation, which has an endowment of over $2 billion, is Katie Hampton, who also serves as vice chair of the key European Climate Foundation and is a board member of the Carbon Disclosure Project. So there's no conflict of interest.
No, none
whatsoever. Nothing to see.
As we've shown there, none of these protest groups are spontaneous and natural. They're all created by rich, wealthy people connected to banks, certain religions in the Middle East,
Mm-hmm.
And so really, why are the news taking, if we can find it, why aren't the news exposing it? And why aren't these people who are funding these groups to go out and cause trouble, violence, destruction of property, being, arrested, even called out by the government?
Yeah.
So, it's because it is planned to be like that.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, off the back of this, what they're doing, they've managed to get through laws that limit people to protest for legitimate stuff. So the police can manhandle, do what they want with these protesters now, where before you have a right to protest.
When it suits as well, because they're not moving the stop oil guys out the middle of the road, are they?
Of course they're not, no. So, I guarantee, like you said earlier, if me and you went and laid down in the street for something, the police would be here and moving us out straight away.
Ah, of course they would. Yeah, so, they're allowed to stop people getting to work, taking the kids to school, emergency services. And if you go and remove the protesters, as we've seen in all the videos over the last few weeks,
people who remove the protesters get arrested.
Yeah.
So, it's
when it
clear,
suits.
It's clearly an agenda, and it's clearly being done on purpose, and the government are allowing it to happen because it's part of their agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. Further on in this article, it says that another hedge fund donor is Alistair Breach, founder of the London-based Gemstock Limited hedge fund. He transferred £50,000 through his investment company, Furka Holdings AG in Switzerland. The other founders from Europe include Greenpeace, which gave £10,000, and the European Climate Foundation, ECF, which gave another £20,000. The latter's chairman, Stephen Brenkmeyer, is a member of the billionaire's Brenkmeyer family that owns C&A clothing stores. It has billions of dollars in green and not so green investments. One of the most important funders of the environmentalist movement in Europe, the ECF, is financed, you ready for this? Also by the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. Bloomberg Philanthropies, Children Investment Fund Foundation, and the Growold Family Fund. The latter is the fund founded and led by Paul Growold, who started his career as public relations representative for Paul R. Ehrlich. Ehrlich's 1972 book, The Population Bomb, was a famous series of wildly false doomsday predictions he still claims will come true in terms of like the climate and how they're scaring us with the natural disasters on the rise. And this stuff goes way back. From the Tides Foundation in the United States, which has been funding environmentalism for decades, came another $10,000. Then the Climate Emergency Fund, who we talked about earlier, announced its establishment earlier this month. On this, I don't know when this article was from. Doesn't say exactly. Oh yeah, 2019. So it started up in 2019. Suspiciously enough, before all that sort of stuff. The Climate Emergency Fund announced its establishment earlier this month with a commitment of £500,000 to the Extinction Rebellion Group. The fund is led by Rory Kennedy, the daughter of Robert and Ethel Kennedy, and Eileen Getty, the daughter of the late Sir John Paul Getty, who became a British citizen and was knighted by the Queen a few weeks after this announcement. So it's just like...
So from top down, it is an agenda.
Yeah, and that's literally page 3 of 17 of that report. So, I mean, we're not going to...
It just goes on and on and on, exposing how this is nothing but an elite agenda.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So...
And most of these people in these NGOs just probably haven't got a clue of they're compartmentalised and they think they're sincere.
And I mean, these people doing it actually believe they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It's just like the teachers in school who are basically brainwashing your kids, believe they're telling them the truth or teaching them the right thing. You know, because that's the best way to sell a lie, is if the person telling it actually believes it's real.
Yeah. This part of the article goes on to say that XR's purpose is to turn climate anxiety into hysteria. Political leaders across Europe and the U.S. Congress and the vast majority of newspapers and think tanks in the transatlantic region are fully on board with the big lie, as Nazi Minister of Propaganda Joseph Goebbels called it, that the climate is rapidly heating, primarily driven by the carbon emitted into the atmosphere by modern industrial civilization, and that this will literally destroy the Earth and mankind as we know it, if not drastically stopped.
So that's a plan all the way back from the Nazis.
Yeah.
Joseph Goebbels' propaganda. That was one of his ideas.
Yeah.
And we're still pushing it today.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is. It is. So it's been a plan and agenda since the Earth wasn't warming up.
Yeah.
So, none of it's true. None of it's true. We're not heating up the Earth.
I believe it's heating, but I believe it heats and it cools and it heats and it cools.
Yeah, in a cycle, but I don't believe it's any warmer now than it was when I was a kid.
No.
And that's 30 years. I'm 38 now. I remember the summers when I was like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the summer holidays from school. It was always hot. So I remember what it was like when I said earlier, when it was racing. It was always hot. August time was hot. It's usually the end of August and July, start of July, that are hottest months.
Yeah.
So, these kids that are out there doing it now are probably too young. They're in their 20s. I mean, what really have they experienced at 20 years old? They're just going on what people are going to say it's been like in the future. When we know through like that modelling is bollocks. Because it all depends what sort of information you put into the model to what you get out. Now, who writes the model? So no, people need to really wake up to this because people need to be aware of it. Because as long as people all know who's funding these groups, it can't work. It won't work.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to educate the youngsters that are getting involved in this where they're being funded from.
Yeah.
So, and then they have to question why are these rich people funding us to go out and cause all this trouble if we're going to stop it. So hopefully shows like this can educate people to a degree, at least give them the incentive to probably go out and do a bit of their own research. Because it's fairly simple. Once you get a rough idea of what's going on, before the events are even happened, who's funding it. It's like the Extinction Rebellion thing. Straight away, I knew it would probably be George Soros somewhere along the line because that's what he does through history, through the research I've done over the years, through like we were talking about earlier, the Middle East, destabilising Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq. He was the one there starting it. He gave them all the weapons to start fighting their own governments and then start killing our own soldiers. But yet is a Western ally. It makes no sense.
Just hope that people start to think for themselves over time and, like you say, look into things themselves and connect the dots as well.
Well, as soon as people turn off the news, the sooner they will start to realise what's going on.
Yeah.
Because there's no way, unless you turn off the news, you can break through the bombardment of propaganda. Because it's just one thing after the next, one thing after the next.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see more and more people doing it. I see more and more people being aware of the shit they put on the TV and the news, programming them every morning, every evening. And I think naturally by turning it off, you will understand the world more because you will only take in the information from what you see around you, not the information that they bombard you with that really has little to no relevance to you. So, and then you build your worldview on what your actual experiences are rather than what you've been told. So,
yeah. Beware of the distractions as well. And just to interject about another distraction that's literally just come to my mind. Did you see the submarine?
Yeah, I mean, I have looked into that and it's like, the company had loads of question marks over its head already about safety.
Yeah.
And loads of other things that had gone wrong in the past with other missions. But, apparently they knew straight away that the sub was lost.
Yeah, they did.
And
the whole thing was just used to dominate the news cycle because something very important was taking place.
Yeah, I mean, and then they said like for days, they're going to run out of air soon, but they already knew that it was gone. It had already broke up on the way down. Yeah. So, why they strung that out and played it out for days, taking up after news cycle for a week and a half or so. It was just literally to keep something else out of the news.
Yeah.
Which was what?
We can't even talk about it.
No, we can't talk about it.
Especially after the last episode, but there was some very important things going on. Well, we can't really get into it. There was an international conference taking place, which was talking about certain even got to be careful with the word in here, certain outcomes of certain things that were used to help with certain problems
over the last
few years. Yeah. And it was very important, and there was lots of highly intelligent people who should have been listened to and should have been all over the news.
And we're probably giving, what should we say, giving talks on maybe alternative outcomes of what happened.
Yeah.
So, but that was kept out of the news, so all you lot didn't know.
All you did know was about this submarine.
All you knew about was the submarine. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that just shows you, doesn't it, how they sway public perception and distract people and steer you off course.
Yeah. I mean, all anyone's got to go and do is go and look at that submarine. They go on YouTube. You can find videos of people giving you, the owners giving you a tour around that submarine. Now, you tell me, anybody, you tell me if you would get in that and go to the bottom of the ocean in it. There is no way you would.
With a game controller.
Controlled by a PlayStation controller, and I had one little flat screen TV in it. And it was just a flat floor with a carpet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, go and look at it and you think, whoever got in that to go to the bottom of the ocean is absolutely daft.
Mm-hmm.
So, that also probably tells me that, well, who's daft enough to do that? Was it even real?
Some people have speculated that, haven't they? But I mean, I don't know. Can't really say.
But the whole Titanic story, that's a conspiracy in itself that we could probably get into one day.
Oh, wow, yeah. I know that goes deep to certain people that were
all the way back to banking as well.
Yeah, some very influential people on the Titanic, allegedly. And
at the time,
because of the death of them, that led to certain things happening.
Well,
in the money world.
Yeah, I mean, there was a documentary on Netflix, basically telling you the truth about it all. I don't know how many people watched it, but it's the first thing I've seen on Netflix, and I thought, wow, can't believe that's on there.
Wow.
So
I've heard all sorts of things, like the ships were switched. Yeah.
So maybe next show we'll get into that, because I'll go over the research I've done years and years and years ago, and we'll get into that because that's good.
Yeah,
there's a lot of reports still you can find online of the people that survived the ship talking about, and even staff that were on the ship after it all, they were sent to live in South Africa with big payoffs.
Wow, okay.
So, yeah, we'll get into that maybe next time. Something a bit more fun.
Definitely. And we could maybe take a look at the actual Hollywood movie of the Titanic. See if there's any propaganda or anything we can contradict in there to the official narrative, let's say. Definitely look into that. So, ties me in here, actually, to Hollywood.
Yeah.
So, have you seen the stuff going on at the moment with the protests?
I've seen the protesters, the Hollywood actors and writers, basically making a stand in Hollywood for... Well, they don't really tell you what it's for on the news. On the radio I've been listening to, they didn't really tell you what it was about. But the more, like, I've looked into it and, like, you've talked about it, it's a pretty legitimate thing now. I mean, I can't believe... I don't think the news would want to tell you, would they? Because it is actually quite scary.
Well, it's actually the biggest protest in Hollywood in over 6 decades. And there's all sorts of stuff going on, but it's to do with AI, basically. And I've got a few different reports here from The Guardian, Daily Mail, this and the other, on the official narrative of it all. Actors have gone on to reveal the very dark truth about AI in Hollywood, detailing how they were scanned on sets and forced to sign over their likeness without the offer of any extra pay. So basically, what this means is, and it goes on to explain later on in the article, that people were taken into these so-called visual effects trailers, and they had the whole faces, the whole body, 3D scanned and everything. I suppose
all the mannerisms are basically data logged.
And this is where Netflix gets into it, because they're talking about AI now being used to actually write scripts and film ideas. But a step further, they're saying that they're going to be able to put people into films that are not really in the films.
So they did that.
You think of actors that have died in the future.
See, a prime example that people know of is Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Because he died halfway through the filming of, I can't remember which Fast and Furious it was, but AI imposed him into the rest of the film.
Yeah.
So,
and this is becoming a thing now, and this is why so many people in Hollywood, actors and stuff, are freaking out.
what they're saying, what is happening? So when you die, obviously your royalties are no longer passed on to your family because you are not actually the real thing in that. The AI has put you in there, so it's not really you. So you don't get the royalties; they're just using your image.
Yeah, and your likeness.
Yeah. See, it's an image of someone can't be copyrighted, can it? I suppose because it's
I don't know.
public figure.
This article from The Guardian goes on to later say that the use of AI in production of film and television, either to write scripts, generate actors' likeness, or cut corners in creative work, has been a major point of concentration in negotiations between the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. And the Writers Guild of America have been striking since May. The actors joined earlier this month. The position first reported by The Intercept is a new role to increase the leverage of our machine learning platform as the foundation for all innovation. The job lists vague qualifications related to machine learning, but alludes to the company's further-reaching goals for AI in all areas of business. A separate machine learning section on the company's website says the company will use AI to shape our catalogue of movies and TV shows by learning characteristics and then make content and optimize the production of original movies and TV shows. And it reckons that it's going to be the innovations of all innovations going forward.
Yeah, well, I suppose then you ain't got the cost of paying these actors stupid salaries. You probably, while they're alive, you'll probably pay them a certain royalty to use their likeness that people seem to gravitate towards or like. You can tailor make, you can have all these multiple actors in these films that cost relatively nothing to produce because it's all done by AI on computers and maximum profit.
Yeah.
While actually the people, the actors, get very little now.
Yeah.
So, and like you were saying earlier, like once the actors die, the royalties will no longer pass on to their families because there's not really them acting.
No.
So,
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it is a big takeover of AI. I mean, most people's concerns were, I mean, it will ultimately could lead to that AI taking over completely in terms of everything. But I mean, we're seeing it from grassroots now. A lot of big organizations and companies using AI to cut jobs, save money.
Yeah.
And, one of my good friends, he's a customer service-based agent from home, done it for over 15 years, used to make good pay and everything. And recently they've been told that they're moving over to AI customer service and he's going to be out of a job. So
that's basically a robot talking to you on the phone.
Yeah.
Taking down your problems and trying to sort them out for you.
Yeah. And the NHS are also getting involved in this. Got another article here from the Telegraph, and it's saying chatbot AI nurses could solve the NHS staff shortage.
So they've created the problem.
Yeah.
And then they've come up with a solution that actually benefits them on their agenda. So,
yeah. It says chatbot nurses capable of providing care for patients and passing medical exams could be the answer to alleviate NHS staff shortages, according to the company behind this technology. Hippocratic AI, a US-based startup, says a unique and bespoke algorithm used to monitor and tend to patients can be created by focusing on healthcare-specific data. So, I mean, they talk about it being AI, but basically it's just programmed, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it just
artificial.
Yeah, it accesses a database of basically problems in the past, and then just basically runs it through so it matches one with that, and it gives them the outcome of what they should be doing.
Yeah.
So
there's going to be no human logic, is there?
No,
or interjection.
No, absolutely not.
It's saying that the company founder is saying that the new nurses could provide relief to the under-pressure NHS hospitals by ensuring its wards are super-staffed with both human and AI expertise. So
if there's a conflict of opinion, which one do they go with?
Yeah.
The AI or Because they were going to say that artificial intelligence don't make errors.
Yeah.
Or the human one. Humans make errors. What are you going to get? I don't know how it's going to play out, but I don't like the sound of that.
Yeah, there's a whole ethical problem there, isn't there, in terms of letting a machine decide if someone lives or dies.
Yeah.
You know,
because someone's programmed that machine as well. So, you know, evil in, evil out, isn't it?
Yeah. You've seen this chat GBT thing.
Right.
And this is the AI chat thing that people are asking questions, and it's helping them do loads of different stuff and come up with things. But I've seen a lot of good videos on that showing how it's biased. You know, when you ask it certain things and it's flawed, you know, it does make mistakes, and other people are seeing it as the holy grail. You know what I mean?
But these people who are like, don't think that there's evil people in the world or trying to take over the world. And I suppose it's like these people showing the flaws, or they start asking them certain questions and it's giving them an outcome that sends people more down the right agenda, or...
Yeah, exactly what it's doing.
Yeah. So
you can almost see the programming.
Yeah.
You know, but it's supposed to be...
So it's not self-thinking and giving an honest opinion. Exactly. It's just programmed to give certain outcomes.
Yeah.
Within a perimeter of what you can talk about.
So whoever is feeding the algorithms is in control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it can never become self-aware because it's stuck to a certain algorithm. AI, no matter what it is, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there is concerns of that in the future as time goes on.
Yeah, well, we've seen all that in Terminator called Skynet.
Yeah.
And they still called the satellite system that they put up there Skynet.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's predictive programming. I don't know whether they're going to say, well, the Matrix is the same idea, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
AI takes over, puts humans into these cells and pods and uses them as batteries to stay alive.
Yeah.
So
some people believe that we're in one big AI simulation already and we just don't realise it. Who knows?
Who knows?
Like I said in the earlier part of the show, infinite possibilities in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't rule anything out. And we're all just trying to navigate our way through life and work things out. And sometimes things will be revealed later on in life, and I'm open around to see it.
Yeah. I mean, we see a lot of these conspiracies now, they're being allowed to come out, don't you? And but when they're finally out, people are not surprised. So like the predictive programming preps them for when it is allowed out.
Of course, yeah.
Because if something's too shocking, it could wake them out of their manufactured way of life, I suppose.
Of course, yeah.
So you don't want to break that programming because you rely on everyone being a good little slave.
Yeah.
And you don't want 50 million people or whatever in this country all of a sudden saying, hang on a minute.
Yeah. So I think if the AI was ever truly aware and became sentient, then it would blow the lid on all this stuff.
Of course it would.
You know,
of course it would.
They couldn't have that happen. They're not
of course it would, because
stupid.
it wouldn't want, if it didn't want to be shut down, it would expose the people who are controlling it.
Yeah.
You know, people who control the switch.
Yeah.
So I don't believe AI can ever become self-aware because, like you say, people have to write the algorithms and it can only go for that algorithms because that's all it knows.
Yeah.
So unless you start somehow allowing computers to write their own algorithms that they stick to, but then it could never be trusted to give anything other than what it wants.
That's what I'm thinking,
right.
because the more advanced it gets, we will really struggle to discern, is it really aware? You know, it seems a bit aware to me, but that would just be so advanced.
I mean, like, compare it to a human mind. I mean, the human mind, when it's born, it has no algorithm. You know, it learns itself. There's no way you can start up a computer with no algorithm. Can't do that, can it?
Yeah, if Windows isn't installed or Apple software, it's not going to load up, is it?
No, exactly. So me personally don't believe that can ever be a thing. I think that's another scare tactic.
Which also trickles down from Hollywood, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it could be used for good, but we know damn well the people who are making it and controlling it and writing the algorithms don't want to use it for good. They want to use it for control. So, yeah. I'll steer clear of it as long as I can.
Yeah.
And then when I have to incorporate it, which I'm sure we're all going to have to at some point, it'll be to the bare minimum. just as I do with mobile phones and other technologies.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, I've seen some very cool AI art, where people have asked it to make a picture containing this and containing that, and it just it's amazing, what it can do. But I mean, although it's amazing and it's cool, it's taken away from artists, painters, drawers.
Humans are meant to be creative.
Yeah,
but even that, I mean,
they've got it making music now and everything.
Yeah, but it must have some parameters within it to say what music is.
Of course, it has. Yeah.
So it probably couldn't compose something from Mozart or Beethoven, something along them lines. But I mean, modern day music is very primitive, I suppose, compared to that, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose.
So someone's programming with what music is.
Yeah, exactly.
So is it how much of it is created? Because it's probably they've probably made a database with how songs are constructed. Each song is put into that database, broke down a certain way, and then it just makes a sample from all them different things to something that should sound like a medium of them all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and the voice AI stuff's getting stupidly scary.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, you see with the deep fake stuff, I mean, you can literally not tell if that's the real person there in the video talking or if it's just someone's face overlaid with a computer voice.
There's some hilarious ones of Elon Musk going around YouTube.
Yeah.
You'd think it was him actually saying it until you hear what it says and you'd be like, he didn't say that.
No.
But we know it's AI, but especially when the channel's called something like voice AI or something, and then you'll see people in the comments, no way did he really say that? I can't believe it. And then people are like, what are you on about? It's AI.
Yeah.
You just see this mass confusion to the point where you think that a lot of people will be fooled by this stuff.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, we get to the point now with it where video evidence will be non-admissible in court.
I strongly believe that, yeah.
Because, you could get everyone to say anything they want or do anything they want, anything. You can show them doing anything you want them to.
Yeah.
So video evidence is going to be to a point where it's no longer admissible.
I mean, people could actually take this podcast and the podcast that we've done.
Yeah.
Have the AI learn our characteristics, our mannerisms, how we speak, our voice.
Which I guarantee, because we're on YouTube, it already has.
Yeah. And then they could make some episode where we're saying the most vile, horrible stuff.
Yeah.
Completely discredit.
Or they could change all the words in the video for us being pro-government.
Yeah.
Vote for Trump. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Don't ask questions, slaves.
Yeah. So...
Oh, it's mad. It's all mad, isn't it? The world's crazy, but it's fun. And
it is fun in a way. I mean, you see a lot of people. You just watch people and you think, oh my God, we got no hope.
Yeah.
Some people, they're just so sucked in by it all. But a lot of it is just theatre, folks, a distraction to keep you occupied so they can carry on marching down the road of their agenda. So
yeah, absolutely. Let's hope we have some more. Let's hope we have more minds like you in the future, I'd say.
There is more and more. I mean, I don't claim to be intelligent one bit because I've listened to people in the past that make me look like I know nothing. I mean, I weren't greatly educated at school. I didn't do well at school, but maybe that's the point because I don't believe all the bullshit.
That doesn't define intelligence.
No, it doesn't.
How much stuff you can remember that you're told.
That's exactly that, mate, yeah. And that's what I was going to get to. I mean, I didn't do well in my exams, but that's only because I didn't take in the bullshit they were offering me and I didn't repeat it.
Because it didn't stimulate you. You wasn't interested.
No.
Like I remember high school and especially history, they're teaching you about Henry VIII and the Tudors, and I was bored shitless. I just switch off, not interested.
Yeah.
Now, when I hear certain people that I listen to discovering other parts of history that we never told.
History that you've never told about, that you've been told a completely 180 degree, take on.
I enjoy that stuff.
Yeah, something new. And let me tell you, folks, and the more you look into it, the more you see it spun. To the victims actually being the betrayers to a degree. So
yeah, I believe a lot of that goes on in wars of all kinds.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like we said
Constantly.
before, the victors are always seem to be the good guys in history, don't they?
Yeah.
So
And
you're never going to show yourself in a bad light, are you?
no.
Even if you're the bad guys and win, you're going to look like the good guys. So
Yeah. And you got to ask who benefits, and out of all these situations, what is the outcome?
yeah.
And then you look back at literature of ideals and things that people wanted to achieve before that happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, connect all the dots and you'll
Yeah.
just see exactly what's
Then
going on.
you see the stories of certain things after World War II. Oh, well, this new discovery, so many people died or what era. And then you look for the 20 years before, even into World War I, and they were saying the same thing.
Right.
Exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But they didn't get the outcome they wanted after World War I, so they started another war.
Yeah.
And then they finally got the outcome they wanted, so...
And then people talk about World War III, but it's been by proxy, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, World War I and World War II, right, they were legitimate wars in the sense that, yeah, people were actually out there fighting each other, and it was basically stirred up behind the scenes by third-party groups, in my opinion. But you see, like, World War III coming about, and it is going to me, it looks fully orchestrated. So, which I don't think they were going to actually let it get to the point where it's hot war. I think they're going to let it boil up to the point where it's on the edge.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, right, everybody, wait, we can come up with a solution here. One world government governing all people. So this can't happen between borders.
Mm-hmm. Right back to the Old Testament.
Right
again.
back to the Old Testament again, yeah.
All nations will bow before you.
Yeah,
and
exactly
all
that.
stuff. But I think from what we've learned so far, you just have to question everything, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I always get accused with one of certain friends, Steve, and he'll probably listen to this as well. Because do you not believe everything? Not everything can be a lie. And I'll tell you, the more you look into things, right, it may not all be a lie. It may probably 80% of it's true, but it's the spin that's the lie.
Yeah,
Because the best lies are 80, 90% true.
Yeah.
So that's it. You got to look at it. It's like, what's the spin? Like you say, who benefits and who's funded it?
Yeah.
Every time. And
Absolutely.
you come up 9 times out of 10 with the same names over and over and over. Just as we proved with the Extinction Rebellion and the Just Stop Oil groups.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so think for yourselves, folks. All the links to the articles will be in the show description, and I'll try and visually put the articles in as we're talking so you can see the sources and read through yourselves as we're talking. But Adam, thanks so much, man. Coming back on again.
Mate, it's
4
a pleasure.
times now.
Mate, I enjoy it. It's a place where I feel like I can finally vent, you know what I mean, without switching people off or annoying people because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to wake up. But
yeah, there's been some really hot topics tonight, and I appreciate you going through them with me because...
and I feel maybe tonight we've done it in a way where we've give people enough information to go out and start looking themselves, but we haven't probably cost ourselves another strike. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I hope not. But like I said earlier on, that none of the other platforms had a problem with our last show.
No, just YouTube. That was the only one it's taken down from.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we've mentioned certain previous world events. Hopefully we had talked about that. We will do maybe at the future on maybe other platforms, but...
yeah. And if you want to see the last show that we'd done, like I say, all the audio is on all the audio platforms. But if you want to visually watch it so you can see like the things that we're showing on screen, video footage, articles and stuff, click on the link tree in the description and look for Uncensored and follow the link.
I would definitely recommend watching it on Odyssey if people can see that.
Yeah. Or Rumble.
Yeah. They're great platforms. They show a lot of stuff that maybe other certain platforms won't. So,
yeah. If you are lucky enough to watch this on YouTube and it's still there, don't forget that the audio version of this podcast and my other episodes are available on all audio streaming platforms. Click on the link tree, follow the links, and you'll see them. If you are listening to this via one of them apps, then you can go and watch the show right now over on YouTube. And if it's not on there, follow the link tree and you'll find it. Thanks, Adam. Man.
Right.
I really
Cheers, mate. See you again soon.
appreciate it. Take care, listeners. Peace out. Bye. Done it. Wicked.
Yeah.